Hey everybody, I'm Tim Sheldon with Timmons Group. I'm joined today virtually by way of Jabra. This is Jason Collins, Henrico County Department of Public Works GIS Manager.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Can you hear Jason okay? Yeah, I think they can hear you. Good deal. All right.
Good morning, everyone.
So there's Jason's face, so you can put a picture with the voice. He is, in fact, a real person. I'm gonna do a super quick intro, and then we'll get into the meat of this. So I'm from Timmons Group. We're a engineering and technology firm out of Richmond, Virginia. It's about 150 of us doing GIS. We do asset management, we do transportation, we do core GIS and app dev, all sorts of stuff. That's enough about that. Jason's gonna talk a little bit about Henrico County for you.
Hi, yeah, so Henrico County, Virginia, it's a suburban county outside of Richmond, north of Richmond. We've got about 330,000 people, the last census, 245 square miles of area, and about 1,360 miles of roadway that we maintain. Just highlights about Henrico, we've got a few multimodal type of highlights here. Busiest interstate on the East Coast with I-95 there. The busiest Amtrak station in Virginia, in Henrico County as well. Then we've got Richmond International Airport, and plus it's at the tip of the Federal Triangle, which is a high concentration of military sites within the area. So we like to keep people moving within the county for sure. So the next slide. Department of Public Works, some facts about us. Only Henrico and Arlington counties in the state actually maintain their own local road systems. All the other counties in the state use VDOT. So to that end, we actually get some funding, $14,000 per lane mile, which works out to about $49 million per year that we get from the state allocated to us for maintenance. So due to maintaining the right of way throughout the county, we have a few extra departments that most don't, or divisions rather within Public Works. Construction division, transportation planning, a traffic division, road maintenance, an environmental division, and design and engineering. And then we also recently acquired Real Property. They're the ones that do our takes and all of our property purchasing that we do for the road system. So all that to say that we've got an LRS now that is going to be a base for all of our asset management going forward for our road system. And we definitely needed it for sure. So the challenge, the biggest challenge here is the fact that we actually maintained our road inventory in Excel, which, you know, I mean, it's 2022 now. We started this project in 2020. We probably should have gotten away from Excel in the 90s, but anyway, it's been done that way for a long time, and we needed to change it. So we partnered with Timmons and got them on board to help us create this new LRS and turn it from a spreadsheet to spatial. Tim?
Very good. Thanks, Jason. So the overall project was to implement a modern LRS from Esri Roads and Highways. Kind of the end goal is to let Department of Public Works better manage their inventory, do analysis against it, report and ultimately share all of their data with internal users, county commissioners. Part of that, one of the outputs of the project is a report that goes to the county commissioners of the roadway inventory. And then also the VDOT Local Assistance Division receives a report from Henrico. So hear me talk about this a few more times. Related to segmentation, so the biggest benefit here, I think, for Henrico County is ability to easily add assets that don't conform to any current centerline segmentation. So you can kind of put your data wherever it needs to go. So LRS might be new for some of the people in the room. I'm going to pretend like it's new for everybody and just let me ramble for a couple minutes about it. Conceptually, it's pretty simple. LRS is just another way to describe something on the surface of the Earth without using XY. So when we describe something in an LRS, we're doing it based on a known distance along a known linear feature. In my case, linear features are always roads. So we're saying where a thing is along a road. We have a unique ID to tell us which road is which, and then we have measures that are placed along the roadway that tells us that's kind of the distance along the road. The other half of this is an event. So think of an event as a thing that happens along the roadway. What you might have modeled now as a centerline attribute could be translated into an event. So it's a system of measures that ties all this together. So now we know we have a unique route ID, so we know which route is which. We have measures, we know where along the route we are, and an event is related to that route ID and those measures. A point event is a single location. A line event is, well, it's a line, sorry. It has a from and a to. I can't really make it too much fancier than that. But so routes and measures tied all together. If you're looking for another way to picture it, I usually tell people to picture a clothesline, where the string is the route and the clothes you're hanging up are your events. So the two things are interrelated. The analogy goes much deeper. We don't have time for me to ramble about that this morning. So then to get just a little nerdier, the concept of dynamic segmentation is kind of what ties all this together. With dynamic segmentation, you get rid of the need to split your underlying route geometry or your centerline geometry. So as you want to add more features, you want to add more attribution, you don't keep getting a further and further segmented table. You get a bigger data model that has more event tables. And then you can mix and match those event tables through all sorts of other equally nerdy processes to come out with output products. It's a little easier to manage the data along your roadways. Some specific challenges of this. Well, creating an LRS, a spatial LRS from a spreadsheet, I think is the obvious challenge. That's a little bit tricky. So Henrico County has, so we were working with Jason in Public Works. There's also a GIS group there that does maintain a GIS centerline. It's not an LRS, but there's a ton of good geometry and good information there. So we were able to leverage something spatial. And then the trick to all of this is that, I guess there's lots of tricks to this. Sorry. The GIS data is excellent to have, but the spreadsheet is the authoritative source. So we need to do some sort of manipulation to the spatial data that we can see to match the non-spatial data in the spreadsheet that we hope is correct, over the last 30 years or so. We did all of this with a really big workflow. I like workflows, sorry. You're not supposed to be able to read that. The basic gist is we stopped and started a whole lot of times doing QC. So we do a little bit of work, stop, and just look at the data. Is this going the way we expect it? Can we improve our process? How is this actually going? So this really tall workflow on the left, you can see several of those QC steps in there. Basically where we're just stopping and evaluating, is the process still holding? Are we making bad data? Are we making good data? Do we need to, regroup? How are things coming along? The screenshot to the right is actually one of the parts I'm more excited about. I should probably get out more, but it's a data conversion plan. And why I'm excited about this is it's documentation that survived the whole project. So every decision we made about data modeling, every type of edit we made was captured in the data conversion plan. And then I think even up to the day we delivered data to Jason, our lead analyst was still updating that data conversion plan. So it has everything soup to nuts, everything we did, mostly for future us. So in a couple of months, when I'm starting to wonder why we modeled that way, I can go look at the plan. Or, in a year when Jason's using this data and starts wondering, what were those people thinking? He can go read the data conversion plan and see exactly why we made the decision we made. Source data preparation. So we're using a spreadsheet. My best advice would be don't use a spreadsheet. I mean, you got to do something with it. You know, that's your authoritative data. We should have made step one spreadsheet into flat geodatabase data. I don't know how many of you have worked with Excel and ArcMap. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't work. And the worst case is it looks like it's working, and it's actually coming unglued behind the scenes. That happened to us a couple of times through the project. Not a ton of fun. But we did make a ton of use of the spreadsheet. We added feature level metadata for every record. So we're tracking staff assignments. You know, we had a team that ranged from one person to, I guess we're up to maybe 5 or 6 editors at one point in time, depending on the pace and the task at hand. So we're tracking who's working on what. We're tracking row by row the status. You know, do we have a problem with this record? Is this something we just absolutely can't locate? Is this something that has to go back to Jason? So we ended up with about 600 rows of the 7,000 that we just can't make sense. We need local knowledge. So those didn't get migrated. Those are in sitting in Jason's lap currently to help us, you know, figure a disposition for those. So we needed a stable place to do all this. We worked with our IT to stand up an Amazon web instance. I didn't want to make a phone call to Jason that said something crashed and we lost everything. I didn't want to make that phone call. We can't afford that setback. We have a lot of sandboxes in-house, but we have a lot of sandboxes in-house. People treat them as sandboxes, and it's hard to spread the word. Hey, this is client data. Don't touch it. So we figured the safest way is just something completely separate. We limited the logins, just the staff that are doing the edits can connect. All right, so the conversion itself. So where we started, it's all kind of loosely started on the intersection thing. So we took the GIS data that the county GIS office maintains. We loaded it to roads and highways, assuming we were going to change most of it. We loaded it there so that we could use native functionality to create a whole bunch of intersection points. I didn't count them for you. So there's several 100,000 intersection points. They're stacked on top of each other. If you want to use them to know where intersections are, it's a huge mess. But if you want to use them to join related information from the spreadsheet, it's kind of handy. You increase the match rate. Yes, you do get some false positives, but it seemed to be the best starting point. So I guess the short version of that is the spreadsheet. We used the facility name and a from concatenation to be a from. And we used the facility name and the to descriptor to be a concatenation for the to. We did some joining, some other analysis, and came up with it. This is my favorite part. A 25% match. My notes in the slide actually say blah, not awesome. You know, everybody that's done a data conversion like this, 25% is not an awesome place to start, but it is what it is. And let's look at the upside that we got to look at 75% of the data manually. Always exciting. I didn't have to do a lot of the work myself. That's why I can still smile about it there. People that still a little stressed out. So this is one slide. This was months of work. The vast majority of edits that we ended up making were reversing routes and reassigning routes. So basically changing the measure direction or completely changing what a route is called or what a section of route is called. Because remember, we've got GIS data that has street names, but it's not LRS data. And we've got a spreadsheet that is governing what the LRS has to be. So squishing those together, you're going to have to make some edits. We actually made very few full removals of data. We're able to keep pretty much everything. Like I said, the feature level metadata in the spreadsheet, it really is 7,000 rows of here's what I did to this row. You know, so if the county commissioners ever say, hey, what happened to Bob Avenue? They can go look. You know, it was changed because it just didn't make any sense. It went to a swimming pool or something. You know, we can see all of that.
Why would you choose to make the route ID the road name?
They do. That's the most easily recognizable option for the staff. in Henrico County. Everything to do is based on street name. So we wanted to keep it familiar with them. That was one of the first exercises, was a couple of workshops on what's the format of the route ID. Any LRS project generally starts with what's the route ID going to look like, how's it going to work. I'm sorry, say again? So there's an Esri native LRS toolset that has a create route function. This is a more advanced version of that. This is a whole software extension that Esri produces. Sure. So throughout the project, we're doing as much QC as we can to try and keep the whole thing on the rails. So we did do some data reviewer checks as you would expect, just looking for geometry problems in the underlying centerline file. We found very few of those, which was really nice. We did some event checks. We are creating brand new events, so important to check those. I think the bulk of the QC would have been through spreadsheet analysis. Our lead analyst added lots of fields to keep up with the length of a record that the spreadsheet had versus what we calculated spatially. And then we went through several iterations of looking at the variation between those two numbers. We found a lot of places where there was just something was mistyped, either mistyped in the spreadsheet or mistyped in our process. We found places that needed JSON review. But again, it's all tracked in the spreadsheet, so we can see all of that. The one in the middle there, so this speaks a little bit to your question about the native LRS capabilities. So monotonicity, basically, it's a $5 word to say the health of your measures. Do your measures start at 0 and increase as you go, or did they jump all over the place and are they thus useless? Anyway, so we did use that native function. So as you're editing the data, the route will light up green or red, meaning stop and back away slowly. Something has gone awry. We need to fix it. Okay, so if you're following along so far, awesome, much appreciated. What we're basically doing is creating a giant flat event table. So this whole spreadsheet that's our authoritative data is now one big event, maybe 8 or 10 attribute fields, give or take. So this is kind of a nuance of doing this project this way. So a lot of times in LRS, you've got a route network that's solid, and you get some new event data. You lay the new event data on the routes, and some of it locates, some of it doesn't, and that's fine. You deal with it. But in our case, the event that we're trying to locate is what's governing where the roads are, how long the roads are. So we're using this authoritative source as the event. So as we're locating events, we're having to go and adjust the routes so that those events will fit. It's a tiny bit backwards than a lot of LRS, and definitely another key component, as I've listed like 12 of them now. So treating the spreadsheet as one giant event table lets us do this once. So every row in the spreadsheet gets a route ID and it gets a from measure and a to measure. And then once that's located correctly, we can split that out into individual events however we want. They're all located the same way. So it's a little more complex than that. There's some dissolving and some other processing, but we don't have to go through 8 or 10 event tables, reload them, and relocate everyone and process it. The bulk of the work just happens once. All right. So real quick on this. At some point in the project, Esri achieved feature parity between their ArcMap version of their product and the Pro version of the product. So screenshots you saw earlier were ArcMap. That's what the data processing was. We ended up talking with Jason and their IT, decided to go live with Pro because it's the latest thing. It wasn't really painful. There wasn't any, nobody was trained up. There wasn't any architecture infrastructure in place. So let's just go with Pro from the start. All right, Jason, you want to talk to us again?
Yeah, sure. I like talking about this part. So The outcomes, the return on investments. So the immediate benefits that we have now, the LRS is our base for all of our asset management going forward. We're really looking into getting some asset management things in place and using this to put all the other events on it, all the other things that we manage. We did a joint project with Timmons as well to go through our guardrail inventory to spot some of the anomalies and things about that, and that was created as an event layer that went into the LRS. And some of the other benefits that we have too, we've got improved accuracy. So now, we're not in a spreadsheet anymore. We've actually got these real values out there, and it's part of that whole roads and highways system that will keep all of our roads accounted for. And then, obviously with GIS, you get visual feedback, right? So any of the events that we have, we can overlay them on each other, or be able to see multiple things on the same map if we need to do any kind of analysis or anything like that. So some of the next steps that we have in mind, we've got more things that we're going to put into this asset management system in LRS. Pavement condition, the PCI index, we're making a big push to get into that more now. Also, things like ADA ramps. I'm sure plenty of you in the local and state government know about the new initiatives and things for the ADA ramp compliance. And then stormwater as well. We just able to get a $50 million bond referendum for drainage projects in the county. We've got a few issues with drainage, so this will go a long way to help out with our stormwater analyses as well. Yeah, so and just the ongoing support. Looking forward to continue working with Timmons for putting other events together, either help with the LRS. They've been a great help and great partner working with them.
Appreciate it, Jason. That check's in the mail, buddy. Sorry. That's all we had. Anybody have any other questions? What you got? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No. That makes perfect sense. So all of this is still GIS. So every event is a feature plan. So yes, we reference them based on route and measure, but they do still have XY. They do have some sort of shape. You can include in your event data if you want an offset to one side of the line or the other. So if you wanted to make a map and symbolize your guardrail, you could do that. So it doesn't have to lay directly on top of the center line. And then they can overlap if you want. Why you would stack guardrails, but you could. You could have multiple guardrail pieces on top of each other and show those on the map. It's very easy to slice it and dice it and show it. You sure can. So when it comes to roads that have like varying widths over time, so sometimes you have some intersections that aren't very standard, but not four-way, that's why you how So your event segments can be as short or as long as you wanted. So if you picture driving along the road and you're thinking about right of way, you could have 100 feet here, and when you get to that table, you can switch it to 150 feet. You can change the attribute value of that event as often as you want. What we would suggest is some sort of business rule. Sit down and discuss how often do you want to change that value. And lots of conversations with other colleagues about how detailed do you want to model that. The software doesn't care. There doesn't seem to be a performance hit. But how much your users want to maintain. Yes, sir. So, project timeline, what type of Sure. Yeah, so route ID and how you're going to model things like roundabouts, what's a ramp, what's a route, what's divided, what's undivided, are all early conversations we try to have. So we took a look at the centerline source data that we had, talking with Jason and his team about what that centerline data looks like. Is that how they want to model in the LRS? And then what do we have from best practices from previous implementations? What works, what looks like it would work great, but is a pain to maintain, that sort of process. That answer your question?
It does, and so if you end up writing usually cost before, long-term cost before, versus so we're in this process, is that in the middle, on one side, or the other?
Probably somewhere in the middle. It's not a ginormous data set, that's the thing. There's a healthy number of roads that, Jason and I think Jason, you're going to have 2 technicians, I believe, to maintain it. So they can be a little more granular with how they're maintaining things without things slipping through the cracks. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. I don't think I would say more precise. It takes a little bit of the maintenance load off of you. So when you're maintaining the LRS with the out of the box or the original 4 LRS, I was just talking to Michael about this a few minutes ago. If you change the length of a route, it updates. You need to go and update your event locations manually. If you change where the start of the route is or you change the shape, it's on you, the user, to go update the rest of the data model. And that's kind of where this product is nice. It gives you a set of rules that will update those for you. So if you've got a relatively small LRS and just an event or 2, then maintaining it manually is not a big deal. You could just roll on doing that. But once you either get a large route network or a whole bunch of events, I don't know what a whole bunch means, more than you want to maintain manually, that's where a more all-encompassing solution is kind of nice. It depends on if there's information you want to track about the roadway. So if you want to inventory sidewalks or guardrails, drainage, the list goes on and on. If you've got a bunch of those assets that you want to maintain based on where the roadway is, then I think an LRS would help. I am a little biased towards LRS, honestly. I think it does come back to how many times do you want to segment a line file to represent attribution. And if it's just a couple of times, maybe you don't need the LRS. But if it's a bunch, it starts to get a little annoying to me.
What did that look like? I can imagine
Jason, did you catch that?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But I mean, I think you could probably address it as well. Yeah, I mean, well, so at this point, we're still 1 year behind for using this system to put in to get our money back. So this year we'll still be turning it in through the spreadsheet since we just got the delivery a little while ago. But does that answer your question? I couldn't hear everything.
They're in the process of switching to be authoritative. So like I said, we've got is Jason, like 600 rows, I think, that just we weren't comfortable disposing of. Like Jason and his team need to weigh in. I think once those are done, I think that will be when the official switch. We're right there. We're right there. Yep. Let's do it. You live down the street. You can ask me anything. All right, that's it. I think we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.